The seventh Mission Impossible movie is coming to theaters soon, so I thought now would be a very good time to watch the previous 6 Mission Impossible films to catch up, and I did that. But before I begin, I want to say that I heard that certain YouTubers have received copyright claims from Paramount Pictures for apparently showing the trailer footage for Mission Impossible. So do keep in mind that I will not be using trailer videos. I will just be using images from the movie. And without further ado, I watched the 1996 Mission Impossible film. The film is a continuation of the 1966 television series of the same name and its 1988 sequel series, canonically set 6 years after the latter, and it is also the first installment in the Mission Impossible film series. I enjoy this film, and this is not my first time watching it. For obvious reasons, this is not my first time. I watched this a few times now, but every single time I'm always on the edge of my seat whenever I watch this. Brian De Palma is not a director that I know of. I don't know his work. It is the 3rd highest grossing movie at the time, so it was incredibly successful. I mean, it has to be in order to spawn 7 sequels, am I right? And do keep in mind, this was around the time Tom Cruise wasn't as big of a star as he is now, so it was really interesting to see the actor's early work. And Tom Cruise is an actor that I respect because of the guy does his own stunts. I don't know at what year he started doing that, but it's I really had to respect him for that. And do keep in mind, I have not watched the series or the sequel to that series. I know nothing about this movie going in, and even to such a person, this movie works. You don't need to have watched the show to watch this film, and I love that. Heard something really interesting with this movie in particular, and that was that this movie was shown to the cast of the TV series, and they apparently did not like it. Mind you, I'm just reading off of the Wikipedia page, and I will put up a screenshot as I'm saying this, and they each have their own reasons for not liking this film, and that was really interesting to me because every single person that I speak of loves the first Mission Impossible. They absolutely love it. In fact, it's one of my favorite action franchises. I love all the installments of the Mission Impossible, and yes, even Mission Impossible 2, but I will get to that in the next video. Another interesting fact that you might find in this movie is that Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise's character, he never holds a gun in his hand. The movie is entirely focused on espionage, and you can see Tom Cruise holding weapons or something like that, but never a gun. That's really interesting because most spy thrillers, if you look at most of the spy thrillers today, it's really interesting to know that the first film in the Mission Impossible does not have the main character holding a gun. That's really interesting to me. And on top of that, the movie manages to keep the tension really, really high. It's really tensionful, even when you know what is going to happen, because I've watched this a few times now. I still remember the scenes from this movie, and most people, I think, would remember the scenes from this movie as compared to some of the others, but I think the newer ones are what's going to stay with them. But this is the starting point of what are the biggest franchises now. One of the more memorable scenes in this movie that every single person will come out of, and after watching the movie will remember the most, would be the CIA headquarters, Langley, where Ethan Hunt has to take the information from a very, very difficult area in Langley. And I love the way they kept the tension up over and over, like you are immensely, like one small step could mean the entire mission to be a failure, and you can sense that in the movie. The only thing I did not like is the introduction of the rat to further add to the tension, and that felt a bit artificial to me, but it didn't break the flow of the tension in any way. It's just something that I was like, okay, Okay, that did not need to be there. It felt artificial to me, but it didn't impact the tension you feel in any way. So that's one thing I like. And another interesting fact, and this is something everyone living in this era has to overlook, because this is made in 1996. At least it was released in 1996, and that is their portrayal of the internet. It is the only scene in the first Mission Impossible that dates this movie. You just have to forgive the movie for that, because at the time the internet was not as big as it is now. The internet was still at its infant stage at that time period. So the directors had much more of a free rein to use their imagination to portray the internet. And it's kind of interesting what this director's vision of the internet is. How Ethan sends mail to Max. It just, like, watching the movie now, it was a bit funny to me, but I can understand why, because the internet wasn't as huge as it is now. It's a different time period. You just have to forgive it just for that. It's the only thing that dates the movie a little bit, but it doesn't hamper your experience from watching the movie in any way. And it is one of my favorite films in the franchise, and it is something that I am very intrigued by, because I'm sure if I was leading the TV series and the characters were dealt with in this way, maybe I would have reacted the same. But it did feel kind of interesting to me that the Starks from the TV series did not like this. And one more thing is that this movie demands a lot of patience from you. If you look at my Sitaramam video, I say the same thing, where you are expected, and this one it's emphasized more. Even if you blink, there is a chance that you might miss a crucial information and you'll be left wondering, why is it happening like that? So it's very important that you pay attention to each and every line the character is speaking. And that's just one thing I thought I'd mention. Aside from that, I really enjoy the film, and anybody who watches this movie might enjoy it. You're a fan of action and you're a fan of spy thrillers, and you're fine with some of the dated stuff like the portrayal of the internet, but it is still one of the best action films. Like, the tension in this movie is undeniable. The way the movie hooks you into your seat, the way this movie keeps you immersed in this world, and the characters in the movie, top notch. The writing is great. Tom Cruise, great, and I can see why he kept on doing the Ethan Hunt series all the way up to Mission Impossible 8, which I would think will release in 2024. I heard on the news that it's a send-off to Ethan Hunt. Overall, if you haven't seen this movie, what are you doing? If you love movies and you're a fan of action and like espionage or spy thrillers, it's a movie that I think you'll like. Even though the story is overused at this point, but you had to forgive it. It is in 1996, where the story, I don't think, was not overused as much or as used as much, where the agency he works for is against him now. So I think it's a story you've seen it countless times now, but if you're okay with it, this is a movie which you have to watch. The action scenes, everything in the movie aside from the portrayal of the internet still holds up to this day. The characters are fun, the movie is fun, and it's something you would really enjoy it.
Girl, you shut me down and there's no witness. Got me in my feels, she would never listen. All the alcohol is in my liver. I guess I lost and you're the winner. Missing your touch, you were a good kisser. I was born a saint, but now I'm a sinner. Falling for you.